of mowing practices. And then in turn, there's also grassland birds. So bobolink is one of the local birds that you can only find with these year-long butterfly life cycles. So I kind of got into the whole insect world. I had an amazing professor who taught entomology and took us out in the field, and we did crazy stuff, and I just kind of discovered the world of insects. So when you're trying to identify an insect in the garden, it's good to kind of be familiar with the different families of insects that are out there. And I kind of have this book that I found in a bookstore, just called The Practical Entomologist, and it goes through each of the insect families. So an example of a beneficial insect would be the bees and the wasps and stuff. And they're in, well, I don't want to get the family wrong. Yeah, actually we could talk about, there's a few different species of wasps that are really, really beneficial. And the reason why is because they eat other insects, so they literally grab other insects, kill them, and eat them themselves, or take them and bring to their larvae and pack them in with their larvae, so when the larvae hatch, they have a food meal before they come out. So there's a whole group of wasps and some bees that make their own cavities that actually grab other insects and feed them to their larvae. So that's really cool. And then there's groups that parasitize on caterpillars. So some of our major pests on things like kale and lettuces, there's probably 3. There's an armyworm, there's a cabbage worm, and then some of the larger worms that eat like tomatoes, which we hate, the tomato hornworm. There's one type of wasp that lays its egg in the caterpillar, but the larva actually hangs on the outside. It's a white little mass. Some of you have seen it before. And then there's another wasp, they're a smaller wasp, and they actually lay their eggs inside the caterpillar, and the larva formed inside of the caterpillar, and that wasp is about the size of like the pinky. But the way you can tell a wasp is that they have a narrow waist. So you look at it, you can tell it's a bee. It's pretty obvious that it looks like some sort of bee or a member of the wasp family, and you look at it and it's really small, and they have an ovipositor, which means egg depositor. And anything that's going to either lay any wasp that's going to lay their eggs inside has a little ovipositor. So there's this big long wasp, you may have seen it. It has it's a wasp with a narrow waist, and it has a really long ovipositor. It can be as big as this. That's the one that's going to lay the eggs with a little cocoon, pretty much. It's called, I don't know exactly what it's called for the larval case of a wasp, but it hangs outside. If you see a caterpillar with that on it, and maybe we'll find one, I don't know, you're supposed to leave it, because then the egg will hatch, and then the adult will come out and then do the same thing. So it's an example of seeing an ugly pest insect that actually has a beneficial insect ready to hatch and live off of it. So that's really crazy. It's really, really crazy.
You should say caterpillars. There's the quadriceps mushrooms in the Himalayas. It grows on a caterpillar, the fungus, which is the quadriceps, grows on a fungus of a caterpillar. And it's probably not too sterile, but they actually eat that quadriceps, and it goes for like big bucks.
So there's so many examples of mutualistic or semi-mutualistic relationships, especially in the insect world. So one of our number one problems with some of our plants are aphids. And aphids have a really unique life cycle. They have multiple generations of non-flying adults, and then every few generations, these flying females will come out, and then they will disperse to another plant. So that's really interesting. However, there's a mutualistic relationship there. So there's ants that feed their babies sugar. And one of the ways they can get sugar is by teaming up with aphids who are sucking out the juices of your plants. So they're sucking out the juices of your tomatoes or your peppers or something like that. So they're reducing the nutrients that are going to your vegetables. They're eating that food, and then what they secrete, their excrement is actually sugar. So then you have these ants who sit on the plants and take the sugar from the excrement and return to their young or their larvae underground. Not only that, but the ants defend the plant. Depending on the species of aphids, and depending on the species of ants, they can either be pretty passively defending or they can be extremely aggressive. There are some plants, sunflowers are an example, where there's larger black ants that are feeding off of other insects, and they're extremely defensive, and they will attack and throw off any other insect that goes on the plant. And if you even touch that plant, they will try to jump on you and possibly even bite you to prevent you from doing any harm to their little aphids that they're harvesting. And we can look for those. So my goal for today is really to do more hands-on and walk around and kind of look at some of the common things, try to determine, I'm still learning if it's a good insect or a bad insect, and then I guess whether it's good looking or not. So a good looking insect, a beneficial insect, would be a dragonfly, and there's a couple of them right now flying around. I think they're an amberwing species. The problem with insects is they hardly ever put good bugs and bad bugs together. So my favorite book that I've been using to learn about the bad bugs is this really large book called The Garden Insects of North America. So far, if a bug is not in here, it's probably beneficial, but it takes a lot of process of elimination because there's several bugs that look very similar. So an example would be there's some beetles that are black that are good and they eat other bugs, but then there's other beetles that are black that are bad because their larvae are going to eat roots and stuff like that. So I'm still trying to learn. Some of the ones that I know are bad are like the potato beetle, which we have a plot with potatoes, and they're covered in that, so we can look at those. Covered.
Are the aphid guarding ants beneficial, or does it depend, or?
It depends on what plant you're looking at. So if you're, really the ants don't have very much of a role to play on how your plants are doing. So if you have a lot of aphids, that's going to hurt your plant. So you want to get rid of them, and then I guess the ants are just going to have to find another place to go, or they're going to lose out on that. So the ants, I guess, could be called negative because they're associated with this insect that's actually harming your plants. And so a good example of kind of like figuring out what's good and what's bad is I went, there's a junior grange that's happening down at the Grange. They have a bunch of kids and they have a little garden plot, and so I went and visited them, and they were squashing every bug they saw, but little did they know that they were actually squashing ladybug larvae. Now ladybugs eat aphids, so they're beneficial. Everybody knows that ladybugs are good, right? But not everybody knows what a ladybug larva looks like. And they're just as voracious as the adult form. So they were going in there, they were not hardly seeing the aphids because they're camouflaged, but they were seeing these little ladybug larvae and just picking them all off. They were kind of messing up that balance. So in turn, they were probably going to make more aphids because they were getting rid of these ladybugs. So one of the kids said, "Oh, we've been squashing those." I said, "Okay, so don't squash those anymore."
Okay, don't squash the ladybug and don't squash the larva.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll show you what they look like. And then, we know one of our most beneficial insects, everybody knows the praying mantis. If you ever find like a praying mantis egg case, you can pull that egg case and bring it to your garden, and then you'll have this top predator insect. He's not gonna decipher between good and bad. So they eat butterflies, they eat other things that are beneficial.
Can you pull it right from the stem of the plant, or do you
Have you seen one of the cases before?
Yeah.
You just pull it. They're dormant.
Okay.
And when the weather gets really warm, like right now, the eggs will pop open. It's good to have them in there.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be attached to the plant?
Nope.
Okay.
You can pull it off the plant, or you can take the stalk and then put it in the garden.
Okay.
So the first insect I wanted to show you, we found over in the soup kitchen plot, and it's called the squash bug. Yeah. Now, I didn't find this big adult form. I actually found the eggs.
Yeah, it looks flat.
So we're going to go over there and look at the eggs. So we had these last year, so I learned what these were last year. When the larvae hatch out of the eggs, there are these bright little white insects with black legs. And it's not that they're gonna prevent you from having any winter squash, so it's pumpkins and winter squashes, butternut, that sort of stuff. They're going to reduce the vigor of your plants, but the worst thing is that they spread diseases. So if there's any sort of fungus or any sort of virus in the garden, they're going to move around, they're going to spread that from plant to plant. And it may not kill the plants, but it's going to reduce the vigor of the plant. So the best thing is to be able to know what they are. And if you're one of those people that right now you've been in your garden so much that there's really nothing else for you to do but just look at all your vegetables and leaves, or sometimes it happens in July when you're like on top of your garden, that's when you start to get the bugs. You can squish them with your fingers. You could go around. I like to go around with a jar and try to drop them in the jar. But there's some that are really squirrely, and like the squash bug. So we're talking squash bug, and then there's a squash beetle. So the beetle flies away really quick. They're really hard to get. But the squash bug is easy, easy, easy. You can brush it off with your fingers. They're insects. They have exoskeletons, but it's really soft at this point. And the same thing with aphids. You just brush your finger, you pretty much break their exoskeleton and they die. When they're this big, they're not as easy to squash, and you probably would be very squeamish. You'd have to throw them in water, and because they're so big, and they're bugs, the true bug family, which is actually Hemioptera, which means half wing. They all have a half see-through wing. Their top pair of wings is see-through, and it almost makes an X. And they're a very big insect family, and in fact, the aquatic insects, a lot of them are true bugs. So we're talking like the back swimmer, the water scorpion, the one that's in your house, stink bugs. Those are all true bugs. And the top set of wings, so there's two sets. They have two pairs of wings. The top set is half see-through. And that's how you can tell true bug from the rest of the insect groups. There's a lot of true bugs out there. Squash bug is a true bug. So let's go look at the eggs. We found the eggs.
What?
Last year we had larvae all over my butternut. Where did we find it?
Can I see the picture of the squash bug?
But when they're easy to see, they're all these little white guys. And one female can lay lots and lots of eggs. And they're going to lay eggs in a set.
So you get rid of the bug anyway.
Okay, here we go.
They go in a lot of.
So here it is.
They're gold, right?
So what do you do? If you had the little bugs, well, are these hatched out little guys? Just roll your fingers over them. Oh, look so hard they are. You can want to touch them? Go ahead and touch them. They're pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things you could do is actually cut the leaf off. But those eggs could hatch, so anywhere you put it, those little guys are going to hatch out. They can't fly, so they have to walk. So if you put it far enough away from your garden, they probably are not going to make it back.
Are those eggs or actual bugs?
Those are eggs. They're going to hatch. I don't know how many. It probably takes a very small amount of time, probably 5 days at the most.
What about putting them in a jar of soapy water?
You can put them in a jar of soapy water as well. I kind of damaged the leaf.
So if you just do that, you're killing them.
Yep. So now, like I said, if you have time to look on the bottom of all your leaves, so you may have some of your own strategies, like spraying with soapy water is one. One thing that I do at home is I have a worm bin, and the liquid from the worm bin gets drained out into a bottom basin, and then I take that liquid and I dilute it, and I use a spray bottle or just a watering can, and I put it over the leaves, and it does the same thing as soap, where it kind of puts like a glycerin film on the leaf, and it also has bacteria and fungus that smell really bad, so some of the insects don't like it. But it's hard to get every single part. Now while I was here, I also saw a squash beetle. They are squirrely, so that means they will jump as soon as you see them. And as far as, it looks like we have a beneficial over here flying around. Could be. Yeah, this is like a predatory fly.
Look,
I think.
some bugs on this.
Where?
See you at the end of my...
Her shadow. See where her shadow finger is wiggling? Right there.
Oh, that orange
Yeah.
fly? Right there?
I think it's a hover fly.
Right there?
These are the little beetles I think Yeah.
What is that? Is that good or bad?
So I think he's good.
Yeah.
And he's likely a predatory fly. I can't see his front. So flies are interesting species. They're called Diptera. So like the common housefly or the mosquito, they only have two sets. The front set of wings is actually two little reduced little wings that help them to fly. They're almost like little steering devices. And you can see that really well if you ever have a crane fly, which is those big mosquito things. They look like a mosquito and they sit on your house all day. Look really close, and up ahead of the bottom set of wings are two little reduced wings that are they use it to steer.
For that fly.
He's not going to be in there because he's a beneficial, but we could find it in the other book.
There's a beetle here on this.
Okay. All right, squash. Oh. This is kind of very similar to our Japanese beetle. These guys are going to eat leaves. They probably made these little things. These guys are not. These are not beneficial. And I believe they are in a family of introduced beetles. So they're just like our Japanese. I would hate to squish them. So in all cases of bugs that are
I see some eggs.
good or not bad. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting, there was a female here and she went all around. So the best thing to do is to just reduce the number of eggs as many as you can. So you want to take this little piece off. Yeah, well, there he goes. So this is what you would do when you've weeded your garden. Do you want to try peeling off this?
Oh, there's more on this one?
So one female can lay hundreds of eggs, right?
So even if you pick over a few, there's probably a few more around, I would think, but I guess the less the better.
yeah.
It's probably tough to get all of them, but
The one
you get a
that's-
lot of them.
The one that's going to hurt the fruit, though, is that beetle that flies that's striped.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And they actually will go after cucumbers and all types of squashes. So they're also going to go after your summer, your winter, all your curbid cucumber stuff.
Ladybugs, are they normally just red, black dots, generally?
Not all of them. So our lady, the one has been introduced from Europe, the ladybird beetle, has a lot of different patterns. That's the common one. They look like that. But there's some larger ones. Some of our other ladybird beetles are larger. So like on milkweed, there's a ladybird beetle that's red and black, and they're actually double the size.
Oh,
And they're usually they're top predators. But then you have these other beetle family that eat plants and do harm to plants, and they have more of an oval-shaped body, and they have stripes.
I know what it is.
Oh, there she is. This is the egg layer. This is the squash bug adult. And see how it would be so hard to squish this in particular?
Does that
Yes.
beetle fly?
Oh, yeah.
It probably does.
So you put it in a jar, and you just
The easiest way, yeah.
Can you just drown them once they're all in the jar?
You can.
Or leave it out in the sun or whatever.
You want to squish it?
And so here's the, this is actually not an insect, this is a beneficial spider. It's like, I can't wait to eat those little, oh, he's probably going after, and then he bites it right away.
Wow, that's cool. So that's a beneficial one?
Oh yeah.
I think that's
all right.
where the buns in with white flowers.
They're a member. Oh, so here we go. This is what they're trying to eat. You see them? That's a little squash beetle, and they are hard to get. Hard to squish.
Yeah, it was. I don't think there was any
Oh, look at our garden.
Let's learn more about bugs and
So there's squash beetles and squash bugs, two different ones.
Yep, squash beetle, squash bug, they're both bad.
Oh, I think I just saw one in this one.
Yeah, they're like, as soon as they see you, they fly away.
Oh no, that's a spider.
this year just seemed to be
Generally spiders.
Yeah, the spiders are probably there because there's all the food resources are available. So that female probably laid here. I see some. And all these spiders are like, what are you doing? Ooh.
Yeah.
So we looked at the squashes. Now we found two that are out there.
Excuse me, a ladybug just
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna put on one of those.
This is yes. So this is probably a good ladybug. It's not the European introduced variety.
Yeah, because they're
I'd like to find a larva of a ladybug. So
they're at my house.
No, I mean, right now I have 3 girls staying there, so.
These are good bugs in this book?
those are bad bugs. So one of the bugs that's going to harm your plants is the cabbage white. They lay their
Can
eggs
you
on
hold
cabbage.
it when I
Those butterflies?
So some butterflies are pets, including one of my favorites, the black swallowtail, because they will eat dill and fennel. But if you plant enough, we can see if there aren't any here actually.
It's a heavy
But I want to,
So I believe this is parsley. So the nickname for the black swallowtail is the parsley butterfly. And they will lay their eggs on here. They will literally eat entire plants when they're full size, about the size of your pinky. Okay, so I see some predatory behavior here. There might have been a caterpillar here. They're really, really camouflaged. Sometimes I can find an egg. This is one of the most common larval plants. It's the parsley family that the black swallowtail uses. So they can go on dill, they can go on parsley, they can go on your carrot. They'll use wild carrot, which is the native variety.
and they're really pretty.
They're really beautiful. They get confused with the monarch. But what I like to raise them because back at my wildlife sanctuary, I have a box, a wildlife box, and we raise monarchs and black swallowtails in there. And it's pretty easy as long as you keep their food full. It's not recommended if you only have one parsley plant because the caterpillars get so hungry. They really need a garden this big to continue to feed them. And if you see them, you may want them not on your plants if you only have one dill or one parsley plant, or they're eating your carrot tops. You may just want to get rid of them.
I have some white bugs on my tomato plant.
They're over there. All right, we can look at them. Let's look at them.
Did you see there's more insects around the garden than the average yard? I would think.
Probably, yeah. This is my pot. I do minimal weeding. And I let things go to flower, so like I had lettuces in the middle that I'm letting go into flower. And I planted for pollinators, so this particular, it's like a climbing bean. It's really good for hummingbirds. This is a climbing bean. It's a red potted bean. So when these get germinated, and I'm not doing that great at clustering them because I let a lot of these go, but
Look at.
okay.
Is this bad?
Probably. Where'd you find it?
It was back there on the grass. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
It's a moth caterpillar.
All right,
It's part of like the woolly caterpillar group. So those little tiny little hairs prevent mammals from trying to eat them because let's say you're a little mouse or a little chipmunk and you want to eat this thing, you'll try to eat it and all those little hairs will get in my face and kind of irritate me. Another thing is that if you know someone that is prone to getting allergic reactions to things, it's not a good idea because they can also cause allergic reactions in some kids. I'm sure he's fine.
He's been on poison ivy, I suppose.
So this caterpillar is likely at its full size, so they have five different stages. They're called instars before they become full adults. And then they travel a distance, and they spin a cocoon if it's a moth, and a chrysalis if it's a butterfly.
How can you tell that that's a moth as opposed to a butterfly?
Well, there's not many butterflies out there, and this is a typical body form of a moth. Not that some butterfly caterpillars are hairy, but it's just typical for moths to have that. The other cool thing about caterpillars is that only the front 3 pairs of legs are going to become legs as an adult. The rest are pro legs or fake legs in the back. And then when the metamorphosis changes, those front 3 legs are going to turn into insect legs, and the back legs are just going to disappear.
Wow.
And not only that, but the mouth and the head are going to change dramatically
I don't
too.
want to hold this anymore.
So you can put it back on the ground. He's probably looking for a spot to make a chrysalis. I wonder what he eats. We could look him up. There, for every butterfly, there's probably 25 moths. So there's many more moths than there
I
are
don't know where to
butterflies.
put it.
Just put it down on the clover. That's
Yeah,
where
just
we
put it
put.
right there. Yeah.
So we're going to tomatoes to see these little.
They're small, like that. That.
There's a beetle on this one.
All these
Can I
little
see?
things.
Looks like a June bug, beetle, whatever.
I think it's aphids.
You think that's aphids?
So here we go. So the little white things that she's seeing on our plants are exoskeleton. So little white things that she's seeing are like the outer. It's like when you shed your skin, like a lobster sheds its shell. The aphids, as they get larger, shed their skin, and it's like a little white, a little white exoskeleton that's left. So right here are the aphids. They are small.
Yeah, like it's
Look
so
at this,
big.
though.
No, I've never seen
I
white
don't know what
aphids
this is,
before.
but I don't like it.
It doesn't look
No.
good.
It's like squash bug eggs.
Oh yeah.
There's
That's interesting.
they're little larvas of something.
Yeah, they're moving.
Oh, look, and they're taking care of. Oh, here's their little eggs that they came out of.
Yeah, you can see that
So
coming out.
I don't know if this is a good bug or a bad bug. It's so small. I've never seen it before. But it was a massive little egg,
you
and
look
they've
for
all
it in the
hatched
book?
out.
Kind of hard to find. You can.
Maybe
looks
then don't
too
take a
big.
chance then.
So the way that book is broken up is into the different types. So if you go into the front, into the index, and it almost looks like this could have been some eating that they did. Maybe as soon as they hatched out, they came out and ate. So it's definitely a leaf eater.
Yeah. So probably just get rid of it then.
Yeah, I would get rid of it. Whatever adult laid its eggs here, though, may have laid more. So now you want to look on the plant for these little brown spots, and maybe that's what happened.
They're smart, they go under them.
Well, there was
You
one
have
of
to
these
do a little
tomato
work
plants.
to investigate.
All right, so here we have some sort of squash beetle species.
Because I've gotten rid of the grass in the street, and I did one, two,
It's interesting, this particular, these are all different varieties, but it was the end leaf was brown right at the tip, and I just picked it off.
I don't know if that's
I've never seen it before.
Was it on a lower leaf or?
No, they were all
Oh, I'm sure there's
It was only on that particular variety, which I think is
So tomato hornworm, you'll first see the sign of a tomato hornworm because you'll come up to your plant and half of it will be eaten. So what happens is during the day they're asleep and they're hiding and they blend in completely. They almost look like this base. They blend in completely. So you have to be like Sherlock Holmes and look at every single leaf of your plant because if you don't let that caterpillar live overnight, he's going to eat another whole half of your plant. So here's the thing, you may think that the first time you find a hornworm, you may see the piece of the plant eaten and you may find the worm like right below the spot where he ate. But a lot of times after they eat, they will move quite a distance. So even if you see one plant that's eaten and you've inspected it because you can't find him, he could actually be down the row a few plants. So you want to look. Yeah, the frass that they drop when they get big is pretty big, and it often will get caught on the plant. And you'll say, oh, there's frass, and you can look up and hopefully he's sitting there. The other thing is you want to keep track, because if you have a big infestation, you may come back to an old spot and then not remember, oh, was that the one that I found like 2 days ago, or is that a new one? So you want to keep track of where the plant had, what the newest eaten stuff is. It's usually in the evening it's easier to find them. So right now there's a little bee kind of pollinating the tomato flower down there. So like we need these bees. There he is. He actually has a full pollen sac, so they take that pollen and they put it on the side of their legs. So see those yellow, they almost look like glands on the legs? That's all the pollen he's collected.
Where is that? No, we flew away. Okay, is this a beneficial ladybug? That's not a true ladybug, is it?
Can I see that?
Yep. Yeah, hold on to them. They're scared. Now this one could be bad, I'm not sure. Looks like he's eating.
Because there were aphids here. These are mine. So.
Looks like a lady. Oh wait, it's a fly ladybug.
Well, ladybugs fly, but that one was more oval than round.
It had
like a
dots
ladybug.
on it,
It
right?
had dots.
Yeah,
Black
see,
and
I'm
dots.
still learning, so I don't know about that one, but I think it could have been one of those predatory ones. Did you see what happened though? Beetles are cool because the top,
Here's some white
their
aphids
top
in
wings don't fly. They're just a hard pair of
Yes.
wings.
Yes.
Then underneath, their wings unfold and fly out. Sometimes you'll see a ladybug that's kind of like at the end of its life and it can't pull that under wing in.
Yep, there's some little white aphids.
No,
Yeah, so aphids are really easy to kill because you just brush your finger across
Yeah,
them. Your
sometimes-
tomatoes look really great. Oh, here's a little pollen sac of the bee with the pollen sacs on his sides. They're on the back legs.
Oh, the.
Actually,
okay.
if you see the movie A Bee's Life,
Yes.
they actually have drawn the bees with literal little, like, sacks on their legs, and they show them taking it and putting it. You can't see them really doing it. So other than the bees, there's almost insects that pollinate. So really?
Wait, can I see?
You have a hornworm?
I haven't seen one.
Yeah. They usually take a couple bites out. Yeah, it's when they're big, it's really fun to squish them because it goes squish, and it's all green. So don't you wear your best shoes?
Wait, keep it away from your face.
Okay. So they don't bite you or anything once you take them off.
No.
So you just take
I give them to our chicken. The chicken love that.
Ooh. Do you have chickens?
Oh, chicken flag.
Yes,
They
she
love the
said.
hornworm.
They're high in omega-3s. Dragonflies, are they considered wasps?
No, dragonflies are in their own group.
Oh, okay.
Dragonflies and damsels are in their own group. They have an interesting life cycle that depends on water. So their eggs are laid in water, and their larval stage is completely aquatic. And when they get big enough, actually when they're in the water, they're predators as well. They're really, I don't know if they're ugly, but they have these big, huge front grabbing wings. They eat tadpoles. So they literally, they eat
This?
tadpoles.
That's a fruit. That's a pepper.
When they get big enough, they crawl up, they hang, their back like cracks open, and all of a sudden this beautiful dragonfly comes out. And they're the same way. They're top predators. You'll see them perching, and they're just waiting. Like there's one right now. He's probably
Yes.
flying
Oh,
around.
yeah, that's a big one.
He's probably eating some of the same insects that the barn swallows and the tree swallows are eating.
Yeah.
They probably have a little bit of a crossover of what they eat.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sometimes, though, the dragonfly has to stop and perch and eat at the same time, depending on what he's got.
Laurie, would you mind looking at our potatoes too?
Uh-oh.
Because there's
Okay. I haven't seen my potatoes yet, but I heard that they have a lot.
See, now this would be a good ladybug, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I just found it
Saw
on
them.
that red and yellow stick.
Go that way.
There you go. So the main reason why this ladybug was brought here was because of its ability to eat aphids. So the gardeners, some of the first gardeners were here and said, well, we need that ladybug that we have back in Europe, and so they brought them. And now there's huge industries, especially with greenhouses.
There's no native ladybugs?
There are native ladybugs, but these European ones are like,
So you
they're
can buy
super
these
common. They
according
eat
to
when you
your
buy the bag. You can buy them, except because there's no walls, they tend to disperse. So they're better recommended for like greenhouse situations.
Oh, I see.
I know, right? Don't fly.
Yeah, no.
But people do it. And there's a conference every year called New England Grows, and there's this one booth, and they have all beneficial insects. There's a whole slew of beneficial insects you can get. But what they say about the ladybugs is that they will disperse and they don't have as good of effect outside.
Oh, I just wanted to...
So we're going to look at the potatoes now. I see something going on with these keys over there. Yeah, those are potato bugs. This is the larva of the potato bug. This is what... So I also have a potato plot, and I haven't been here in a week, but my husband was here, and he said that there's hundreds of these,
I've been squishing
thousands
them.
of these. These are bad.
And they just keep multiplying. I keep killing them and putting the neem oil.
Well,
The squishing will work though.
I think some varieties are more susceptible than others, so
And next year you'll have less.
between the Yukon Golds and the fingerlings in my plot, they're after the Yukon Golds, and the fingerlings aren't so bad.
Really?
Yukon
there's a
Gold, and
difference,
what's the
huh?
other one?
Fingerling.
Fingerling.
So the fingerlings are not getting as much. So yeah, this is the adult.
These are Yukon Gold. Oh, this is the adult of that? Oh,
So these are Yukon Golds?
yeah.
Oh, so he said that he's having a problem with Yukon Gold. So Yukon Gold, they may, it may be less resistant. So this case is squish and drown, squish and drown, squish and drown. They will kill entire plants. We've lost plants already. Or the other option is to dig up your potatoes now.
Are the potatoes okay to dig up now? I mean, will you get just smaller
I
potatoes,
don't know if
right?
I could squish these either.
When do you harvest these
So it
potatoes?
looks like they drop pretty easily. So if you just have like a jar, and I was gonna bring my jar and I didn't, a jar of water, a jar of soapy water, I just hold it below them and just drop them down.
There they are. Is that one right there?
This,
Wednesday.
that might have been a good bug. That actually might have been an assassin bug,
And we did this.
which is really cool. The assassin bug, they're small. So that was small. It was a Hymenoptera. They actually assassinate. They have a big long proboscis and they shoot it into, they can eat things much larger than them. So they may be actually after these guys. They just take their proboscis, pierce them, and then suck out the insides. I don't know what this could be actually the egg of the potato bug. I'm gonna look that up.
Oh, yeah.
See that shiny
yeah.
yellow, green thing?
I think the eggs are yellow.
Who has
or
my,
orangey yellow.
who has a book?
I do.
Let's look it up. And I already have a thing on potato bug.
In the trunk.
Well, no, it's not the potato bug egg, because the potato bug egg is a long and skinny mass of multiple. So here they are. Here she is, laying her eggs. They're like an
Yellow
oval
eggs.
shape.
Yellow eggs.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Those really stand out.
They're on the underside of the leaves, I've noticed.
Ooh, they're actually the Colorado potato beetle. It's considered the most important potato insect pest worldwide, damaging throughout much of Europe. Management is complicated.
Yeah.
So I work on a farm once a week and we were going squishing all the potato bugs. So we had the beetles and the larvae, but then the other thing he had was a borer in the stem. And I'd never seen that before. Do you know what that is? He didn't know what the adult looked like because he'd
It's
never...
a potato borer, so let's look it up.
Yeah, how do you
Usually the squash borers, like that other squash, tend to be the ones that are most.
If you harvest those potatoes now, you'll just have smaller potatoes. You could still eat them.
Smaller and less, yeah.
Right. You could
Unless
still-
they're a little green.
Oh yeah, they'll be.
Yeah.
We did.
They'll be
We
perfect.
have a whole
potatoes
bucket.
are very. They're potatoes right from the very start.
So when are you supposed to harvest these
Here we
potatoes?
go.
When they start dying off.
When they, oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty soon, I would think, right?
So there's a potato stalk border and a
couple more
potato
weeks out of
stem
these.
borer. Was it a stalk or a stem?
It was right in. Well, good question.
All right, so
I would
here's
say
what the
more
borers
like the
look
stalk.
like.
It was white with a black
Looks like
head.
a weevil.
Can I
I
see?
didn't
yeah.
actually see any of them.
So it's like a weevil shape.
It's got a horn thing on
Wait,
it.
we saw them at,
that's
like
a
this,
nut
so
weevil.
it looked like this with a black head, and then some I think had started to pupate because they had a brown, harder shell.
Yeah, I think that's a nut
So
weevil.
this is the.
It was not chubby like that.
And the internet is an amazing thing. I like this book.
Wait, it's on the baby.
Right, I didn't try to look it up yet.
That fly looks funny.
Yeah.
He does. What is that?
And
The
it's gold.
sunflower maggot. Ooh, we can look on the sunflowers and see if he's there. So a maggot is
it's
a
gold.
fly.
I wouldn't
A
have
maggot
thought
is a
of
fly. So like, if you, this happened to me once in college, we made a spaghetti sauce and we left it on the counter for like 2 weeks, right? And so we opened up the top and inside was a bunch of maggots. So what happens at, you know, the housefly that's in your house, it's a pain. He somehow got in there, laid hundreds of eggs, they hatched, and then the maggots started eating. And that's what most fly larvae are, maggots. The mosquito, it has a maggot stage, but it's an
Do you
aquatic.
want to know something?
It's aquatic, but it actually breathes air. It has a little siphon where it can breathe regular air. They actually can't breathe underwater.
There's 3 books
I didn't know that.
that are 3 different bugs. They're like diaries.
So I think the lesson here with the borers is that they look like a weevil, and even if you see a little weevil, a little gray or a little black weevil,
It really looks like a
weevils
nut weevil.
affect, like if you have a little pine tree and it's trying to go up straight, a weevil will put its eggs right in the tip, and then all of a sudden the tree will have to split. So there's like pine weevils and stuff. So my suggestion here is to spend an hour just knocking them off into soapy water.
So basically, you're not going to get every one of them, but you just get as many as you can in an hour.
These plants will die if nothing happens. So I mean, we can look at. I haven't looked at my garden. We can see if it's the same situation. He said that some of them have already died.
I've got collard greens and curly kale. Collard greens are the ones that's bolting. Yeah, the kale hasn't bolted. I planted it in like April,
Right.
months and months ago. Yeah.
They're all over these too. Oh, here's something. This is what my husband was asking me about. I was like, what is this? I think he's bad. I think he's bad. Ah, there he goes.
I got them all over my potatoes too.
black.
He asked me, what's that circular thing? I was like, I don't know, I haven't seen it. So I believe this is fingerlings. So all the spots where they're empty, we've lost plants.
Oh, wow.
There's clearly other stuff on here. Early in the season, we had flea beetles. So these tiny, tiny little holes are flea beetles. And they like to eat eggplant. Ooh, look, here's my little spider ready to eat all the flea beetles for me. I'm gonna let him live.
Do flea beetles eventually, if the plant's able to survive, do they sort of go away?
They go away, but they continue their life cycle. And the problem with flea beetles is that they can overwinter in some of our common plants. So some of our common, anything in the mustard family, which if you're here in the spring, there's this little mini mustard that's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what they'll overwinter in. So the flea beetles will go and they'll overwinter in that. Or if you're like me and you leave some of your kale over winter or your arugula over winter, they just live deep down in the roots or very close to the base. Because those plants can't photosynthesize all year, so they're doing a little bit of
My hair's
protection.
really wet.
The larvae live in there. In the spring, it's like woohoo! They come out and then they go to the closest plant they can eat. They
Can't
usually
find my
don't hurt
hair.
them.
My
But in-
eggplant is having a hard time getting going.
Yeah.
I've
So there's
tried,
aphids here. Oh, here's a
Well, what kind of tree is this?
So this is the female breeding stage of the aphid. See, she has wings here.
Oh, yeah.
Can I see?
She's the only one that breeds. And what the purpose of this is that the flightless female comes out and then she flies and finds another plant. And then there she finds a mate, and so she starts a new colony.
I can't quite see it.
I have these spider plants that are in my house that they are always after these. Every spring they hatch. So the eggs, if they're late enough in the year, the eggs will lay dormant.
It's so hot.
And then they'll hatch in the spring. So anywhere where you have vegetation. So one of the things is, keep your garden weeded, keep the edges mown. So Mike's doing a good job of keeping the edges mown for us, which is great.
Okay, here's something.
But sometimes it's just hard to avoid. Oh, is this our cat? Oh.
It's black.
So this is a whole thing of dill. There could be a black swallowtail in here. What is this? I don't want to... Oh, this person has plants in the row. Alright, so this to me feels... Oh, so that's a hopping insect, so it's a leaf hopper. Leaf hoppers are cool, but they do eat plants. Can't get them to come. This may be a beneficial. So there's a guy called an assassin. This is an assassin.
Can I see?
There's a name that got his attention.
He's gonna make me pick the plant. See him?
Oh, yeah.
So this is a small flying Hymenoptera,
It just jumped upside down, right?
and they have a long proboscis. They can eat things that are twice or 3 times the size of them. You can see they have this pattern on their
Can they
back.
eat humans?
No, well, you are probably 300 times the size of him, if not 3,000 or so.
But he's pretty small. Oh, where's the red one?
So we got something else in here.
But I want to know what that red jumping beetle is. Oh, what's this?
Now that I picked this, I'll have to eat it. So now that I picked this. Looks like there's a lot of beneficials on this dill. I mean, that other one looked like another type of insect I would be eating. So what are they going after here, is my question. Maybe they're, here,
Right into the side.
here's a squashable.
My
So here's one of those ones that's really hard to catch.
Yes.
Squash bug. Squash beetle, sorry.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bad.
No, I was swimming up.
Their favorite thing is to eat those like freshly grown zucchinis.
Can I see? Can I see?
So they will eat the actual fruit itself.
So here's our assassin bug. He's kind of sitting here.
Oh, can I
Oh,
see?
yeah, yeah.
They have a beautiful pattern on their back. Beneficial.
Beneficial assassin.
Yeah. I am so lucky I didn't step on this person's peppers because they're like right in what looks like a row.
How much longer till we go home?
Well, it's gonna be ice cream at 10:30, so we have to hang out until then, right? Ice cream.
So I'm trying something new for squash bugs. I don't know if it'll work. It's called Surround.
Spray on the plant. It's supposed to change the way it looks so the beetles don't like it. Don't know if it'll work.
Try it.
Steve uses that.
Here's our black swallowtail caterpillar. My favorite.
Come on here.
She uses it in the stream.
Making shade.
To protect it from the sun. Oh, interesting.
So get rid of that.
Yeah, I told that it's supposed to be.
I don't know if he's gonna want to go on your stick here. He's...
And also the
So, this is an insect. So it has a hard exoskeleton, and right now it's like, I'm dead. It's not.
It's just pretending so we can leave it alone.
It's just pretending, yeah. So This particular species,
I think it might want to go on this.
the instar stages, so like stage 1, stage 2,
Yeah.
are different looking than the full adult stages, 3, 4, and 5. So right now this is stage 2. When they first come out of their egg, they're like the same. They're very, very tiny. They double their size every day. So these two guys could actually probably eat this plant in one day. So
Yep,
we
it's
may
alive,
want
not
to
dead.
help this person by removing.
It's trying to get back onto the plant. I think. There's 2?
There's 2.
His buddy.
Look, they're brother and sister. We can't tell the sex. Actually, the first time you can tell the sex is when it's in its chrysalis. And there's a particular pattern that males have, and there's a particular pattern that females have. It's really hard to see.
So that's a brother and sister?
Well, it's probably the same adult. So the butterfly comes around, they lay one egg at a time, but likely it was the same female. So they have genetic, they probably have the same mother, but in butterflies, females will breed with different mates, so you can't guarantee. But they likely do have the same.
They get that white stripe on them.
This is all about camouflage for them. I don't know why this works, but it does.
It's like they look like two.
When they're ready, when they're big enough, they're going to shed this exoskeleton and a striped version is going to come out. And then when they're full size, they're fluorescent green and yellow, and they have little black stripes. They look different. And they also have this really cool thing on them where if you squeeze them, they stick out. Things that look like antennas, but it's unique to the swallowtail group. They're supposed to be like fake
Can I see?
fake tongue to make you think that they're a snake or something.
Good luck with
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
And the other swallowtails, there's an eastern swallowtail, eastern tiger swallowtail, there's a spicebush swallowtail.
One's moving.
When they're this stage, they actually look like bird droppings. And when they get to the later stages, they have snake faces. So the snake face caterpillar is a swallowtail, and they use spicebush, or what is common, sassafras. But this one is considered a garden pest, especially if you only have a few plants. And what is this, fennel? So this person is probably going to be eating fennel bulbs in their kitchen, and maybe not the fennel leaves, so it wouldn't be that devastating. But if this was just your one parsley plant that you had, or your one dill plant that you had, you would be pretty upset. So the one thing you can do is you can try to force them to switch their larval plant to something that's out here. I see one over there, Queen Anne's lace, which is the same family. And so we can move them over to that Queen Anne's lace that I see way on the other side of the garden. And then these butterflies perform important functions like pollination. And butterflies can carry pollen farther than any other insect. So they're good for genetic diversity if you're looking for pollination. Here's a bad bug, grasshopper. They eat plants. And if you have dahlias, you may really not like grasshoppers, because there's something about the dahlia grasshopper eaters. They just go nuts, and they're a big caterpillar. Here, what's this guy eating this leaf here? Oh, nobody's eating it. It's just a spider waiting for somebody. So spiders are good. Spiders are not insects. They have 8 legs. They're all members of the arthropod family, but
You still have those 2 caterpillars?
yeah, we're gonna move them to Queen Anne's lace. Boy, I don't have anything.
But are they bad bugs, those 2 caterpillars? Are they?
It depends on how you feel. Oh, you know what? We can put them on this parsley here. Look at this.
Are you photographing all of this?
Trying to, yeah.
So
We'll see.
parsley is a member of the group that the swallowtails will eat. Interestingly, this was my plot last year, and we decided not to take as many plots. And so now this is on Brick's Bounty's plot. Parsley is a biennial. So it has 2 years. In the second year, it flowers like a maniac. So this is parsley that was planted last year, overwintered, and now is flowering like a maniac. But all over it can be insects that are considered beneficial. So if you have room in your garden to let things like parsley and dill and stuff like that go to flower, you'll end up with a lot of beneficials. Some of the predatory wasps have to eat sugar as well, so they're visiting flowers. Hopefully these guys will take to this. I don't know if they will, but... What do you mean?
Tell them this is a high-class place.
By moving them
Like, do you like flowers?
to a flowering parsley, what does that do?
Well, I'm just moving them to a
five-star
plant that they can
restaurant.
eat.
Oh, okay.
So this is part of the group of plants that they eat.
All right, so you don't need to kill
And
them.
so this plant is not going to be used for eating. This plant is just, I think she saw it and she said, oh, I can get beneficial insects in the garden by letting this go to seed and to flower, or she can get seeds as well. So if you look at the flowers, there's all sorts of insects on them. And usually these insects are going to be beneficial because they're pollinators, or beneficial because in addition to what they're eating, they're also eating other insects. So there's all sorts of flies, dipteras. Bless you.
That's a natural...
And some of these are bees. So if you look really close, there's members of like the sweat bee family, which are tiny
Were you
bees.
looking for a ladybug? Here's a ladybug, see?
So these are all little bees. This is a member of the sweat bee. If you look really close, it tends to be one of the major groups here.
That's a bee?
That's a bee.
I didn't even know. All these little black things are bees? See, like
Here's
oh, there's like tons of them.
this is a fly that mimics a bee body. Really important pollinator.
Yeah.
And then look, we have our predatory ladybug that's here. He's having some sugar. And then later on, he'll go eat an aphid for us.
So all these black things are little bees?
Well,
Well, I did one here, yeah. My dill has gone
those
to
I
seed.
can't really tell.
That
Oh,
also
they're like
attracted
moving
They
around.
see you.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't look like they have wings on them yet. See, here's one right here. This one looks like. There it is.
It's like a little beetle or something.
Yeah, it's a type of beetle. But you got all the ones that are flying are bees. These little black ones.
And if you don't like to buy seeds, you can let your things go to seed and save your own seeds, and the next year you won't have to buy any parsley seed.
Wow, that's a different one. What the heck is
This is looks like a milkweed beetle, huh?
that? Yeah, it's like red.
These things eat milkweed. Oh, there you go. So let me show you milkweed, because I saved some milkweed in the garden last year.
I got milkweed all around my house growing.
So milkweed, important plant for the monarch, and it's disappearing rapidly because of modern agricultural practices. They spray a lot of herbicides, and it kills milkweed too. So last year I had one milkweed. I left it, and now that milkweed has become a little family of milkweed.
Did you start them from seed?
Nope, they just popped. There was just one in the garden, and I left it.
Yeah, I want to know what it looks like.
So
It's really little. So I tried it.
I'm hoping that a monarch will find
It's
us.
actually an edible plant, milkweed. Isn't
It is edible. So when it's very small, I would say about this size right here. I just see a really cool insect, so I want to make sure we look at him. Oh, don't fly away. Oh, he left. When it's like this size, you can pick it, and you have to boil it twice. So you boil it once, drain the water, boil it a second time, drain the water, and then the other point where it's edible is right when the flower comes up, not after it's closed the pod, but before it comes out. It has a nice little circular pod.
Yeah.
Those you can pick up and do the same thing. You boil them twice.
Oh.
And then some people eat the pods after they freshly close them when they're still green and they haven't turned brown. They do the same thing. But you have to boil them twice because you have to get rid of the
Salic
chemical
acid.
inside that makes, monarchs distasteful. And there's a whole slew of other insects that rely on milkweed. because they suck out the juice and it makes them taste really bad. I don't have many on here.
So if you let the pod just do its own thing, eventually you'll get more. Because I seem to have 3 in my garden now.
Yeah,
Before
well,
I only had 1.
They, the best way that they multiply is by rhizomal root. So
Oh, okay.
the one that was here last year, and it's a perennial, the one that was here last year sent out roots. You can kind of see it was like, "Arr."
Oh, is that how? Oh, I thought they self-seed.
And so here's the other thing, is like monarchs are just arriving now.
They like
Every
milkweed.
year they repopulate North America. They only lay their eggs on milkweed. They're just arriving now. So even if you have a field with milkweed, what you can do is you can cut that field, and then the freshly growing milkweed
Yeah.
will be better than the old milkweed.
So you don't have to
for
dig
that.
it out
So
with
what
the
I
big-
did
Yeah.
early on, the first stalk that I saw growing, I'm trying to find which one it is, I cut it. I think it was this
Cut
one.
it at the base.
Yeah, you can see the original stalk.
This one.
I cut it,
You
and then
know
this
the
came
other
back.
one?
And I could do a similar thing where I could take, but these actually look really good. The one thing about old milkweed is that there's predators on it, so there's a whole slew of animals that want to eat caterpillars, and they want to eat chrysalises and all that stuff, eggs. Like an egg for 5 days on a plant, that's like yum, and there's no way to defend that.
So milkweed's
So-
beneficial for your garden.
To an extent, if you don't want weeds taking over your garden,
Yeah.
it's not that great. That's one of the reasons why milkweed isn't doing well in agricultural landscapes, because they're trying to get rid of it, because it can become extremely weedy.
Right.
So if I'm not careful,
You can over.
you know, in a few years it's going to be all milkweed. But I don't care, because that's like one of my favorite things to do is plant for pollinators and butterflies.
Yeah.
So I have last year I did a lot of companion planting, where I was planting like dills and nasturtiums and cucumbers and radishes like all together, because they're supposed to be companions. That worked. But this year I'm doing like more pollinators, so I have zinnias in the middle, and then a plant called borage, which I think a lot of people are planting it now. That's supposed to deter tomato hornworm for some reason, and it also gets a lot of pollinators. So, and I've seen a lot of people with it now. And then sunflowers, of course, attract.
So, Lauren, on
And-
the monarchs, the migrating monarchs, is it multi-generations in each direction? In which case, do butterflies know to fly north or south?
They
then
do.
if
Well, it's one generation does the back and forth.
Oh, they do. They
Those
go
are
all
the
way
ones
from-
that.
They go all the way
this
from
is,
Mexico to here.
So what will happen is in September, there'll be the monarch that lives here will come out and say, "Oh, my brain says go to Mexico."
Right.
They're gonna fly all the way to Mexico. They're gonna winter there. They kind of live in this, like, it's cold enough where they can still get around and drink, but not warm enough where their metabolism gets really fast. So they kind of just like, it's not hibernation. It's like kind of just slowing down. And then when the days get longer, spring comes. That same monarch that came from here wakes up and is like, "Oh boy, my brain says head to north, head to Texas, or head to South Carolina." And the females are flying over, and they have like infrared vision. And as soon as they see milkweed, because it like glows in the dark, if you put like a black light over milkweed, it will glow in the dark. They see like a big patch. I don't know if my patch is big enough to attract. And they're like, "Okay." And they come on down. The male is already there waiting. They breed, and then she lays her eggs down there. So our monarchs from here aren't going to come all the way back. They're going to do a little bit of a,
Rest
but
up.
yeah. So then it's that monarch female. It's up to her and her sisters to lay a lot of eggs that will create another generation, and that generation will hop up. And probably mid-Atlantic. Some of them will make it here, but it's usually the second and third generation that arrive here. And right now, it's the middle of July, should be when most of them are showing up. And I actually saw one 2 days ago. So they're here. I don't know if they're not going to be as low as they were last year, but they may not get up to what they were in the late 90s and early, 2010s. But because they're an insect, they have this ability to react really quickly to conditions. So there's an opportunity for them to bounce back from, I guess, what was a really bad year last year. But what happened last year is they just never made it to us. So those adults, there was only a few of them that made it up.
Didn't they say the monarchs in Mexico that they're the ones that returned or whatever, something like 85% decreased?
They started off with a really low winter. It was like the lowest winter population they've ever had. So there's this weird insect here. I think he's a predator. I can't really tell. So this is a member of the katydid and grasshopper family, which is, we looked at a grasshopper. So this is it's probably a katydid. It could actually be considered a grasshopper. But what I do see is that there looks like, I just can't tell. Actually, he may be trying to eat the plant now, so I can't tell what he's doing. Usually, if it's a predator, it's going to have some sort of mouthpiece or some sort of front legs for grabbing and eating. This one actually may be this may be a juvenile of a grasshopper that wants to eat my plants. What I'm looking for though is this really interesting looking leaf hopper that lives on sunflowers. That's kind of a pest. I don't see him. But you would never know that it was an insect at first look. Here we have a family of something. It looks like the adult is tending these. This may be some sort of aphid because I see, you know, earlier I was saying that the ants and the aphids live together. It looked like there was a bunch of little eggs and there was an ant kind of just, and they're farmers, you know, they make sure that their babies, the ones that are going to feed them and their babies, are going to stay alive. I don't see, it's like this cool leaf hopper that almost looks like a little dinosaur back. We had them last year.
Like, looks like a thorn?
Yeah, it looks like a thorn. They don't do damage to the flowers, so my most concern with sunflowers is something that's going to do damage to my flowers, right? So right now, there's a lot of eating of the leaves, but it looks like my flowers are doing okay, so it's not a big deal. But one thing that happens is with all these insects that are eating leaves, and this is a clear evidence that they do transmit diseases. So we see like a browning of the leaf here, the spotting. All right, so here's an example of a predatory insect doing its job. This is great. So now we know this is a beneficial insect, this little red spotted thing.
Okay.
See what he's doing? He's got something else in his arms, and it looks like he's eating it. So here we are. We've answered the question on that little beetle with the black spots.
So that's not a ladybug.
It's a ladybug family.
Oh, okay.
They're all beetles.
Yeah. Okay.
The proper term is a ladybird beetle. It's like starfish. Nobody calls them starfish.
Yeah.
So this guy's going at it. Yeah, he's got his mouth on it.
Eating aphids?
I don't know what he's eating. It looks like he's eating something pretty large. It almost looks like it has like a web around it or something. But that's good that we answered that question. So just as you're out there more, you get to see what's happening and see what's good and what's bad. I want to see that little thorn guy, but I guess he's not here this year. Most of these sunflowers came in just seeded their own. So what I did is, as the sunflowers were browning up, I took some of them and the heads and just like threw them on the ground. And the birds were going at them, but it helps the sunflower to continue to make more flowers. So if you cut the head, some people, and I went to like a sunflower growing thing, some people will cut their sunflowers early on because then that will produce these little nodes, will then create new sunflowers, and then you have that long stem sunflower that you like from the nodes. But I just keep at it and cut my sunflowers as they go. And then this one, you can see the nodes are already going on this one.
When do you know when to cut that sunflower?
Once,
See the seeds?
it depends on what you want to do. If you can let them standing, and then birds will come and eat them, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But once I start to see the seeds kind of start to form,
Yeah.
I'll cut them off and like lay it on the ground, and the seeds continue to, I guess, mature and dry out. But then the plant is like, oh no, I lost all my seeds. I need to make new seeds, and so they make more flowers for you. Here's a small bee on the front. Oh, he's not. Oh, he left. It's like, you're bothering me. So I try to plant things that are going to benefit insects and pollinators. So this is a sweet pea, which is like an ornamental. But I'm hoping that hummingbirds and pollinators will come. It's kind of the first time I've grown that. Ooh, what's this? This may be one of our wasps here. So a lot of these predatory insects are super quick. Oh, yeah. Did you see it? I've never seen that before. So I think that was a Hymenoptera, but a predatory one. It was like this big. And I've been leaving clover. So as I'm weeding the garden, I haven't been pulling out the clover because you can get bees and it's
here's one of those with a pretty stripe. Couldn't get him. I
It's
have
fun
these that's
to-
sort of like a.
Yeah, I think I saw them for a second. So a lot of times if they're dropping on you,
This
they
is
may
what,
be a bad
sage?
bug. So these guys are mating.
Is this sage you got?
Yep. So these guys could possibly be a bad bug. It's a Hymenoptera. There he goes.
There you go.
That's a bad one.
Half see-through ring. Yeah, he could actually be bad. But I'm not seeing, I'm seeing a little bit of foraging on the leaves, so maybe that could be him. The best is when you see a hole on your leaf and you turn it over and you realize what the insect is. You know, you're like, oh, there he is, he's eating it. But this stage did really well. Good for pollinators, especially early on. It's a really early flowering, so early in the season, this was the only thing around with flowers, and there were insects all over it. And then, you know, the white clover, nitrogen fixing plant, so it puts nitrogen back in. So you can keep it, next year turn it over, and it's going to have nutrients up and underneath your garden. I would say with the gardens here, the grass species has been the hardest to kind of fight off.
Say, in the garden, we got deer around here every once in a while, but I haven't seen, will you get deer ticks in here? You have to watch it a little bit, like anything else?
I'm sure there's deer ticks here.
Yeah.
The deer tend to be a problem out here early on because they're just running through everybody's gardens and everything's open and they just willy-nilly just run over stuff.
Right.
So when you first start in the garden in the spring, a lot of times you'll see deer tracks just passing right through your garden.
Right.
The other time is in the end of the year when you have those first cold nights and stuff. So what we noticed is like we tried to do late kales and lettuces last year.
Yeah.
And the deer just knocked them out. And the Macomber turnips we planted last year, they knocked those out as well. So right now everything's cool and dandy, but at the end of the year, it seems as though they're coming out here more. I don't know what it was last year.
Right.
Maybe once we get the deer fence someday, that won't be a problem. It's not. It hasn't been a problem. I don't know if anybody. I know they like pumpkins.
The hunting season.
Yeah.
So I think they. Right. So I think they're moving. So you just.
So we'll see how our squashes do, and then I heard that they can do a lot of tomato damage. So once our tomatoes get known, once they find it out, we'll be in trouble. But I don't know if I like being next to the biggest tomato thing. They're going to come and trample everything. But luckily, I think if a deer does get in here, they may actually have a hard time and not really like it because of all the structure that's here right now. They may come in here and be like, I'm never going in there again. Like, that was just too much.
On Derek's farm, you can see they stay in the aisles. I guess because the plants are big enough now, but you can watch the deer footprints in the mud.
So they know what to do. They've totally figured it out. I think here they're still like they don't know what to do because they, you just run where you want and you get tangled up in string or you run into like a fence. if they could figure out how to go down the aisles and dip into the different things they like. So what I would say, what I've learned this year is the potato beetle, like what the potato beetle looks like, how many they can make. I mean, I may have to get a little jar of water and just start getting those potato beetles
It
up.
is really effective to kill them. Like you will, I mean, it probably would help if everyone did it, but you will have less the next year.
So yeah, after today we'll say, attention gardeners, kill your potato beetles, and this is a squash bug. And last year the squash bugs were all over my butternuts. So anybody else have any concerns or questions? One interesting thing is that there was a rare butterfly here seen last year, common checkered skipper. I was just walking around and there was this little butterfly like in the clover. I'm like, oh, that's a butterfly I've never seen before, because I do a lot of butterfly trips and I'm a member of the Massachusetts Butterfly Club, and we do a count every year at my sanctuary. And there was just this little, it was a flat little butterfly, and it was checkered color, like black and white. I looked it up, I reported it, and apparently it's one of the only sightings they've had in Massachusetts last year. And then people came out from the club to kind of see it, and it never showed up again. But it was an interesting day, because on that same day someone else saw one up in Amherst, Mass. So you have these days where maybe the conditions are right or the weather is such that these butterflies from, and it's usually south of here, because just like the monarch, their brain says, disperse, send your generations to new locations. You know, that's what butterflies want to do. There's a whole group of them that do that. Red Admiral is one, which can do damage to your stuff. Question mark is another. Anyway, this guy showed up in Amherst and here the same day, and neither of them were ever seen again. So, well, here's the bean. I hadn't seen here's the red bean coming out. I don't know if it's just a little slender bean, or maybe it's going to grow. I haven't been watering, and one of the things on the package, it says well-watered soil, and I was like, oh. I haven't been watering. Oh, here's a, this is a borer that lays its eggs on the inside of the sunflower. So there's a larva growing here. I have these at home at my house. I haven't done enough investigation to determine when the adult comes out, is this adult going to eat my plant, or is it just using my plant as a place to lay its eggs? So all my sunflowers at home have these.
You see those a lot on goldenrods, don't you?
Yeah, there's a goldenrod one. So if you ever see this and you can sacrifice your plant, what you do is take a little knife and you cut it open and you look for the little larva inside, and it's absolutely amazing when you see what's in there. It's like a little worm sometimes. Depends on the plant. Keep smelling your coffee. Corn looks good.
Coffee beans.
Oh, I smell this coffee too. She doesn't know.
Coffee tomatoes.
Oh, you put coffee in
No.
this.
Starbucks tomatoes.
I don't know if she's pulling her bugs off, but she doesn't appear to have many potato beetles. I know that Amy's here a lot.
Oh, these
So-
are potatoes.
She may be pulling her beetles off. I see some damage on the leaves, but I don't see any beetles.
Let me change the setting for you. You need more.
So you may want to ask Amy her success with the coffee grinds.
Not that much.
So coffee grinds maybe can help them, I guess, on the potatoes.
She's here enough where she can just go on her plants and make sure there's nothing. Don't get wet!
When the cynic gets in front of them, you like to
Oh, we're looking at insects in the garden.
I saw that and we were actually talking about coming out because I had a question.